Okay, so my presentation is on ocean pollution. Um, get started. What does the ocean provide for us? So, the ocean provides many things that we need for survival, such as the air that we breathe, climate regulation, food, medicine, and millions of ecosystems and sea life are in the ocean. It also provides a lot for our economy, such as boating routes, and a lot of the food that we get is from the ocean. Um, this is kind of the problem. I would like to focus on the ways that we can prevent pollution in oceans, so we can keep this big resource that was given to us, and um, keep all the ecosystems sustainable. So the different types of ocean pollution. So these are kind of the types of ocean pollution that I would like to focus on. They're pretty much the biggest ones. A lot of the pollution that is being caused in oceans are human-based. So we contribute a lot to oceans acidification, dumping, microplastic and plastic pollution, overfishing, oil spills, and so much more. We are dramatically harming this huge resource, and just the question is, how does that make sense? Why would we want to destroy such a big thing to us? So my first pollution is ocean acidification. This is kind of a human-caused pollution. It basically is because of the fossil fuels that we're releasing into the atmosphere. So when we drive our cars, when we are burning coal, we are releasing these CO2 emissions into the atmosphere. So the ocean is absorbing these man-made carbon emissions, and it causes kind of throws off the whole chemistry in the ocean. It changes the pH, makes it more acidic. So throwing off all of this chemistry results in the threatening the survival of most species, and it also contributes to bleaching of the coral reefs, which is another huge ecosystem in the oceans. It also affects us economically by making us cut down on harvests of certain crustaceans and other species that are threatened by ocean acidification. So this is a picture of a bleached coral reef. Coral bleaching is a serious global crisis. Ocean acidification is one of the main reasons for this. They are vital to life on Earth. At least a quarter of the world's marine life needs coral reef for some part of their life cycle. So it's very important, very detrimental if we lose these. This is a picture of a crustacean. Because of the change in pH of the ocean due to ocean acidification, the shells are being dissolved by the higher acidifications in the water. So they're not able to build their shells and survive. Since the shellfish are at the bottom of the food chain, it sends a ripple effect up to the higher species on the chain. So if we lose these crustaceans, the species higher on the chain will not be able to feed on those, and so on. So it sends that ripple effect. So it's very important that we have every part of the sea life food chain intact, so that all of them can survive. So here's a quote from the Center of Excellence for Coral Reef Studies. It basically says, when are we going to stop pretending that 2 degrees Celsius is safe for the Great Barrier Reef when 1 degree Celsius already bleaches 93% of it? So this kind of just explains the warming of the water, also due to carbon emissions and ocean acidification. So it's basically saying that we need more awareness for these coral reefs, because they provide so much for us, in that the warming of the ocean is very, very detrimental to these ecosystems. Okay, so another form of ocean pollution is plastic pollution. It's a huge problem. Single-use plastics like grocery bags, straws, water bottles, and plastic packaging do not biodegrade. So this pretty much means that they stay in the environment for hundreds of years. They end up polluting our beaches, harming our ecosystems. Microplastics, for example, are incredibly dangerous to marine life because they inhale them without even knowing it, just because they're very small, broken down plastics. So they're ingested by this marine life, and it exposes them to harmful chemicals such as hydrocarbons, and it blocks their digestive tract, so they don't feel hungry because their stomachs are full of plastic, so they pretty much starve themselves. So this kind of comes back to us, because we are harvesting these fish that are digesting these plastics, so we are exposing ourselves to these harmful chemicals, which doesn't really make much sense of why we would keep using these single-use plastics, because it goes in a full-blown cycle. We end up digesting it in the end if we are eating the sea life. So, over 1 million, this was just a quote from the Sea Turtle Conservancy Agency. So over 1 million marine animals are killed each year due to plastic debris in the ocean. I just thought that this was a very sad statistics. 1 million is a huge number, and just cutting down on these plastics, we have the technology to create more sustainable ways to use different materials instead of using these single-use plastics that we just dump right away. They end up in landfills, they end up in the oceans, and it harms ourselves in the end, which politically is what a lot of people are concerned about. They're just concerned about themselves. So I think finding a more sustainable material would be very helpful. So this is kind of just a really big example of all the dumping. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a huge example. It's 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic, 80,000 tons of garbage, 99% of everything is plastic. They usually end up on the shores of our coasts in Mexico, so they really do end up damaging our environments there. They're mostly, because not all of it is stuff that we are dumping there, a lot of it is from tsunamis. Kind of like that, just because the currents add up all there, so everything is floating there. So we are making efforts to try and clean that, but politically our funding has been cut for a lot of environmental cleanups. So I think organizations are trying to get together to try and reduce the number of plastics in this Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So just some more information on this huge patch of garbage. It's the largest of 5 offshore plastic accumulation zones in the world's ocean. It's estimated that 80,000 tons of garbage has been accumulated in this patch. It posed entanglement risks on marine life, threatens their overall behavior, health, and existence. If ocean animals are digesting these plastics, we're eating them. Like I said, it comes in a full-blown cycle, and we're digesting these harmful chemicals in these plastics. So it always comes back to us. So according to a study conducted in collaboration with Deloitte, yearly economic costs due to marine plastics are estimated to be between 6 and 19 billion. So we are spending so much money just trying to clean up this trash, when we really can just try and eliminate these single-use plastics and not have to have damage to the economy due to all this. So this is another kind of form of pollution, oil spills, and their effect on the sea animals. This was a quote from the oceanservice.gov website, and pretty much states oil destroys the insulating ability of fur-bearing mammals such as sea otters and water repellency of bird feathers, thus exposing these creatures to the harsh elements. Without the ability to repel water and insulate from the cold water, birds and mammals will die from hypothermia. Juvenile sea turtles can also be trapped in oil and mistake it for food. Dolphin and whales can inhale oil, which can affect lungs, immune function, and reproduction. Many birds and animals also ingest oil when they try to clean themselves, which can poison them. So here is a picture of just a juvenile sea turtle caught in this oil mess. It's obviously very damaging to their life cycle. This is a bird covered in oil. It's damaging to, they can't really take off. They can't take off for flight with all the oil on their feathers, which is very sad. And if they digest it, they get chemical poisoning. Same with this starfish. It's very induced in oil, probably is being exposed to chemical poisoning as well. So this is my counter argument. With this topic, I believe that there's simply no counter argument or rebuttal. With our current situation, a lot of funding is being cut dramatically, whether that's in environment or our oceans. Our own president believes that a lot of these topics do not simply exist, such as climate change, ocean pollution, even though the facts are all there. He believes that none of this matters, that we don't need funding for these, we can put our fundings elsewhere. If we don't take this action soon, which needs to happen politically for things to get going, we can have damages, great damages to our economy, our health, high death rates of sea animals, and so much more. I just believe that we are so advanced in technology, like I said before, and that we need to make take advantage of this technological movement and have more environmentally safe measures, such as eliminating single-use plastics, eliminating coal, kind of finding different ways to power cars, such as the electric cars, so that we don't have those CO2 emissions. So this is just a picture of our president supporting digging coal, which is obviously not environmentally safe. It brings up a lot of carbon emissions. So the impact of COVID. So due to the coronavirus, I was unable to conduct my interviews with Sea Hugger and the National Marine Sanctuary. Sea Hugger was basically a nonprofit local organization that uses a lot of weekends on the coast to kind of clean up the beaches after a busy weekend. I volunteered with them about 3 times and I had a really great time. The National Marine Sanctuary is, they kind of harness damaged animals. They protect spaces where animals are endangered. So instead, because they did not respond to my emails, and I could not physically come in contact with them due to the virus, I conducted extensive research online with trusty sources such as .org and .gov sites. And I think the impact of COVID on the environment has been really amazing. The Earth is healing. There are less cars on the road, less ships in the ocean, for example, which have decreased CO2 emissions greatly, which is the big thing that we need to kind of move forward with. And it's providing much healthier quality in many different regions. So I just think that's awesome. You know, I know this is a very detrimental effect, detrimental to people's lives. People are losing a lot of people. You know, the economy is being shut down, but just the fact that we went on pause for a couple months has greatly improved air quality in India. For example, if we look at this picture, this is before and after COVID. The air is so much clearer. The environment is looking way healthier. The earth is just healing. This is also just like a bustling city before and after. The carbon emissions have gone down greatly. There's less smog. So these were kind of my interview questions that I wanted to kind of discuss, since I didn't get the answers to them. A lot of them I did find online, a lot of the answers. So with Sea Hugger, I kind of just wanted to ask about how much trash they collect, and you know, what is the most type of trash that you find. Is it single-use plastics? Is it paper bags? You know, something like that, just to see kind of what we could eliminate if that's the most trash that people are using. So kind of, and also where the fundings come from. So for the National Marine Sanctuary, I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about the animals, kind of where they come from, how many of them are directly affected by ocean pollution, do they release the animals back into the wild after they've kind of harnessed them for a while, and do they receive budget from the government, or receive budgeting from the government, and do they protect any sea plants, any coral reefs, you know, stuff like that. And so in conclusion, my investigation kind of showed me that negative things in the world can have at least some positive outcomes. Like the coronavirus has been very devastating, but it has given the Earth a chance to heal with the world on pause. And I think that this is just a very eye-opening experience for us, because just by reducing these carbon emissions, not having that many cars on the road, has really shown that the Earth can really change that fast. And also doing all this research has reminded me how important it is to care for our oceans, especially all the animals that live in it. Growing up on the coast, you know, the ocean has always been a really big part of my life. And I don't know what I would do without it. And it has inspired me to try and strive for political change environmentally and physically. Physically being picking up trash more often, such like that. And I've also been inspired to study environmental studies in college because of this project, as a possible major. It's not decided yet, but yeah, I think this project was really fun to do. And this is all of my work cited, all of my sources in MLA format. So yeah, I guess that's the end. I don't really know how to end this, but thank you for listening. And I'm just really passionate about this project, had a lot of fun with it. So thank you. To end this. I really don't know. Oh no. Okay, got it. Thank you.